With me now is Mark Mendelson, former crime and homicide detective. He joins us from Toronto. Mark, welcome. Now, there's been lots of pressure in recent years on the government for a tougher approach to violent crime and repeat offenders. Your take on what we know about Carney's new crime plan?
Well, you're absolutely right. We've had clamoring from the public at large over the last couple of years about the bail system. I guess, so many times we talk on CTV and other stations about people that have been arrested for certain offenses, and we find out that they're on 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 8 different bails at any particular time for previous offenses, and also for things like gun prohibitions, things of that nature where guns were used in subsequent offenses. And I think people got fed up. And they were clamoring, and rightfully so, for changes to the bail system. We've always had reverse onus on certain offenses, mostly dealing with drugs and firearms. So this new proposed legislation adds in a certain number of offenses like human trafficking, violent carjackings, things of that nature. And carjackings are something that we've all been living with for a number of years now and talk about incessantly on the news. So these are all good proposals. I don't think anybody's going to be opposed to any of this, save and except defense lawyers. And that's going to be the issue, I think, that the government has to deal with, because defense lawyers are going to be arguing that these are unconstitutional. And then the other part of that problem is that we have a building in Ottawa called the Supreme Court of Canada, and they have a very succinct and distinct view of what bail is, and essentially, in its Reader's Digest version, is that bail should be the de facto stance when it comes to releasing people on charges. So all of this is really good, and we can accept that legislation. I can't imagine any member of Parliament objecting to this type of legislation. We'll have to see how that plays out. But at the end of the day, it's going to go through the superior courts in this country. It's going to go through the Court of Appeals, and it will end up at the end with the Supreme Court of Canada to determine whether these new bail provisions are constitutional. And when we talk about things like consecutive and concurrent sentences, we had that. We had that with murder under the Harper government, and that was all based on what took place in Quebec City at the mosque shooting. And the Supreme Court of Canada said it's not going to go. It's not going to work, and it was off the books.
But Mark,
so we're not going to see the fruits of all this.
If I can just interrupt, sorry. Do you see any of what is proposed here making streets safer?
Well, yes, I do, because I think, how many times do we have to sit and listen to police press conferences where they've arrested people for carjackings, gun offenses, drug offenses, and we find out that at the time that they committed these offenses, they were on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different bails at that time when they committed these crimes, and firearms prohibitions where they're not supposed to be in possession. So if those people can be locked up and kept in, and I get all about the presumption of innocence. We all understand that. That's part of our law, and it makes good sense. But, if you can keep them in and have them not committing further violent offenses along the way, and keep them in custody, that's a great thing. But on the second side of that conversation is, how long is it taking for these people who are in custody awaiting trial to get their trials? We have that Jordan decision out of the Supreme Court of Canada that gives it 18 months for essentially provincial offenses and 30 months for superior court offenses. So part of that, we've got to revamp some of the court system as well. More judges, more crown attorneys, more court space, more court clerks.
All right, Mark, we'll have to leave it there. Unfortunately, that is our time. Thank you so much for being here with us. That's Mark Mendelson, former crime and homicide detective.